G'day folks, Sandy here from Aussie Homestead. I thought I'd just do a quick video on our two latest sheds, which is our generator shed on the right and our fuel and gas bottle and wood storage shed. I've only just put these up last trip when I came up, so I built all those on my own. The power runs through a conduit down there and goes across the back of all the sheds and into the power shed, but I'm going to do a separate video on the power shed. Let's start with the generator shed. These sheds again were free, so just pick them up off Marketplace. I mean, people are advertising sheds all the time. And this one contains, it's got the mowers in here at the moment, I should have pulled them out. But that shows you our 4.5 kVA Honda generator. These things are unkillable, guys. So if you want to get a generator, get a Honda. If they don't start first time every time, you haven't turned the damn fuel on. That's how good they are. I mean, this thing's always fueled up, and it has its own little fan, and it's actually ported outside. So all I did was attach a bit of pipe to that mesh there, and that just sticks into where the exhaust outlet goes. So all of the gases, where this red mower is another generator goes here. I'll explain that in a sec. And that pipes all the gases to the outside, and the fan there just helps keep the generator cool. We keep our mowers in here. We use a lot of cordless mowers. We tend not to use the petrol ones. We tend to use the Ryobi 18 volt one. And where this red mower is currently sitting, there is normally another case generator there. It's another Honda case generator, and it's a 2000 watt model. And that one has a 12 volt outlet, and down there on the floor is a 12 volt plug. In these Honda generators, not this one, the case generator has an inbuilt 8 amp charger. So we run a 12 volt line through to the power shed, and that subsidises the power. So we have a charger in there. We have a 20 amp charger in our power shed, but this gives you an extra 8 amp charger. And because it's running, you might as well use the 8 amp built-in charger. That Honda generator is actually having a service, and that's coming up with Mark when he comes up. That's one of our transfer pumps. That's again another Honda, and it sits on its own trolley, and we use that for water transferring. That's another little petrol-powered water transferer. That is not a Honda brand. That's just a Chinese bloody brand that we use for the spa bath. And I'll do a separate video on the spa bath because I'm going to do some improvements on that. We've got old whippersnippers. Everybody's got a whippersnipper. Brush cutter, whippersnippers. We usually use this one. I like the brand Stihl because they're really, really reliable. I think that's an FS46. I can't remember what brand it is. Damn thing never misses a beat. We keep our own fuel in here for the generators because it's easier to top up a small one from a small container than trying to pour it out of a 20-litre container. And there's a rag there with a hole in it, so I fit that round the fuel cap and drape it over the fuel tank when I'm filling it, and that catches any extra petrol that I happen to have slopped. It's not a very good idea to put petrol on your generator. They're supposed to be internal combustion engines, not external combustion engines. So those things there, that's a 4.5 kVA. Don't be fooled into thinking that 4.5 kVA is 4,500 watts, because that's a misnomer. If you're buying an inverter at 3,000 watts, it'll probably only run at 2,000 watts because you have a loss factor. So that's 4.5 kVA, but in reality, it's not 5,500 watts. It's only about 3,500 watts. So just remember that if you're buying a generator, always buy bigger than what you want. That uses a litre an hour. It has an 8-litre tank, and that will run for 8 hours on that. We only ever use it in really disgusting weather, and that's also plugged into the 240 volt outlet, and it can go to the power generation shed, but I'm going to do a separate video on that. And also the fans will come on when the generator's in because it's plugged into the generator. That pushes all those heat and all that fume out of here, and we are insulating this shed. Long, slow process, but we'll get there. We have a water tank between the two sheds, and it's a 200-litre olive drum. Has its own taps down the bottom down there, and it's just fed through one side of this shed and one side of this shed. All I did was create some gutters and then run it down into the top, and I made a hole with a hole saw, and on the underside I elasticed a piece of mesh just to keep all the pine needles and stuff out. So that water comes down here, just runs into this lid, straight in that container, and it's got an overflow right there. And this tank, when I came up, was full. But I mean, all of our tanks are generally full that are fed off the roofs. Double outlet for water. Now let's get on to the fuel storage, gas storage shed. And again, another shed. I brought this up flat on the trailer, all just in panels. Single door on this one. Just the right height for me to be able to walk in. So on the right hand side we have our wood storage. So this will be full to the roof by the time I've left here, because I've got to go and get the chainsaw out. This blue container is a 200 litre drum. It has a big tap on the bottom of it. We use that for transferring water to IBCs, and I'm going to actually demonstrate how we do all that. Kindling for starting the fires, slightly bigger timber and milk crates, and 3 of full bottles out of our 17 gas bottles. So that means we've got 13 gas bottles currently around the farm being used, 3 full ones, and I've got 1 empty. And because you're only allowed to carry 2 gas bottles in an enclosed vehicle, if I have to go into town to get 2 gas bottles, I'm only allowed to carry 2 in the car. But if I was to carry them in an open trailer, because when I bring all the gas bottles up here, I fill the trailer up. So last time I came up, I had 9 gas bottles in the trailer. But because it's not an enclosed trailer, you can carry as many bottles as you like. I brought 2 lots of 20 litres of fuel up with me, because fuel was cheap before I left, and it's as expensive as hell now. I got it at $1.60 a litre, and it's now over $2 a litre. So I buy fuel and store it at home, and we have a bucket load of these containers, guys. I think we have 15 20 litre containers. We keep our fuel in fridges. Now you might be thinking, why in God's name would you want to keep fuel in a fridge? Well, the reason is it keeps the temperature down. If it gets to 50 degrees in this shed, there's a thermometer inside these fridges. It never gets above 21 degrees, and fridges are beautifully insulated. We've got to remember, it's got to keep the cold in, so therefore it can keep the heat out. This one is our diesel one. So Mark's 4-wheel drive is a diesel, my car is a petrol. So we have to keep both. So down in there is a minimum of 60 litres of diesel. Plus we keep all our oils down there for our oil changes, and we do regular oil changes on the generators. We do the main generator that was in the shed, we do that every 50 hours without missing a beat. The quads get it around about every 30 hours. 2-stroke fuels, because we run whippersnippers. We're trying to change everything over to 4-stroke, because we don't like mixing fuel. Problem is getting around it with chainsaws, although they do have 4-stroke chainsaws now. In the other fridge on this side of the building is a minimum of 60 litres of unleaded, and we rotate these. So as I bring 3 fresh ones up, I'll put the 3 older ones into the car. The old fallacy of how long can you keep fuel? Well, we keep them in a fridge and they stay constant temperature. We can keep fuel for about 5 years and we don't get any water problems. The biggest misnomer about that is the fuel is lighter than water. So if you're going to tip your container into your car, just don't put that last bit in, because the water will be sitting in the bottom of your container. That's the only problem. I don't believe in all those preserving agents for fuels and that sort of thing. So we just try and rotate our fuel. But the longest we've had fuel up here was for 5 years. We had 3 containers sitting there in the fridge for 5 years. And we used it in the quads and it never missed a beat. In the top one is just more oils. And up the top of the funnels that we use for filling the bikes, because they are really hard to get oil into, because they're down inside the motor. So we just connected a bit of garden hose to a funnel, and it's easy to top the oils up on the quads. These ones are for filling the 4-wheel drives, etc, etc. So that's our wood storage, water transfer, gas bottles, and they're normally stacked up to the roof, but I've got them all over the place at the moment because we ran out of gas on almost everything, and now everything's got full bottles on it. So hopefully we won't run out of gas for a while. So that's pretty much those 2 sheds. So that's next to what's going to be the orchard. I'm building an orchard here, and I'm going to have all my fruit trees in there, and I've got to try and keep the damn kangaroos out, because little buggers eat everything. Plus we've got next door's goats in at the moment. We've got 12 goats roaming around the joint, and they'll eat everything. So that's pretty much those 2 sheds. So I thought I'd just sum that up and say it's Andy here from Aussie Homesteads. Until the next one, catch you later.